Without the Mitsubishi Evo to compete with, the WRX is starting to lose its sense of purpose. And with the new 2022 redesign, that's becoming quite evident. This is an in-depth look at the new 2022 Subaru WRX. Let me start with a disclaimer. This breakdown of the new WRX is not going to be a friendly one. I'm a fan of the previous WRXs, and I had high hopes for this new generation. And frankly, I'm disappointed in nearly every aspect of the new design. Only months ago, Subaru unveiled the striking new Subaru BRZ, but I guess it's plain to see that Toyota had a heavier hand in that car's design than Subaru did. So with that out of the way, let's get right into it. The front of the car sports a good-looking grille with a striking hexagonal shape and a 3D pattern in the grille itself, giving it a unique depth. The grille is powerfully front and center and flanked by two boomerang-style headlights that Subaru is calling Kanoji headlights. These headlights are dominated by LED daytime running lights, and the headlights themselves are nestled in the middle of the running lights, much like the previous generation. It's a sharp and handsome fascia, an aggressive take on Subaru's current design language, but it's utterly spoiled by the rest of the bumper. Below the grille is a trapezoidal lower intake, and under each headlight is a large fake air intake that houses the tiny LED fog lights. These elements are completely surrounded by cheap-looking textured black plastic cladding. I cannot fathom why Subaru designers felt that adding black plastic to the exterior of the WRX would enhance its look. Instead, it looks unfinished. Moving up to the hood, the trademark WRX hood scoop is present once again, feeding air to the top-mounted intercooler. This time, the hood scoop is a wide hexagonal shape, and less visually tall thanks to it being placed low in the hood between a valley of hood bulges. It's slightly subdued, but still far from subtle, just like what WRX buyers would like. But looking down the side of the car is another disappointing view, as Subaru's fascination with black plastic cladding rears its ugly head again. SUV-like hexagonal shapes surround the wheel wells, making the wheels on the car appear much smaller. The skirt of the car under the door is also this same textured plastic, and gives the WRX an appearance of having much higher ground clearance than it actually does. The outgoing WRX featured tall and prominent front fenders, with sporty fender vents and a silver garnish denoting the model. The vents flowed into the wide side skirts, making the whole length of the car appear purposeful and aggressive. The new car forgoes these design features in favor of a far less defined front fender, and a vent stamped into the plastic fender that is so laughably simple and small, one would think that it is an afterthought. Starting about halfway across the rear passenger doors, the very prominent rear fenders push away from the body and upward to the new, admittedly very Honda-like taillights. Much like its BRZ cousin, the WRX features a black bar that bisects the trunk lid in half, allowing it to be taller without visually appearing so. At the trailing edge of the trunk lid is a small lip spoiler, and that sits on top of a nicely sculpted, subtle ducktail shape. Below the taillights, the outer corners of the car are tucked in a way that nicely emphasizes the shape of the taillights, and makes the rear end of the car seem less bulky than the previous generation, which sported a much more conventional trunk and bumper design. Nearly all of this effort goes to waste, however, because the entire bottom half of the back of the car is covered in this idiotic black plastic cladding. It cheapens the aesthetic of the WRX as a whole, and appears as if the manufacturer just simply forgot to paint the bumper. On the outside of the reflectors placed on the cladding are two vertical slots, which serve as vents for the rear wheels, which would be really cool if you could see them at all, but they very easily get lost in the mass of black plastic. Finally, at the bottom edge of the bumper are two symmetrical exhaust cutouts, and chrome-tipped quad exhaust peeking from under the car. Open the hood of the car and you will see the new 2.4-liter FA24. However, the extra displacement confusingly did not yield a considerable power gain. As a matter of fact, the FA24 only makes 3 more horsepower than the 2-liter at 271 horsepower, and an equal amount of torque at 258 pound-feet. As a matter of fact, the new BRZ with the same engine is only down 43 horsepower to the WRX, and it's naturally aspirated. Thankfully, you can still get the new WRX with a manual transmission, and you're going to want it because the only alternative transmission is a CVT that Subaru insists on calling Subaru Performance Transmission, or SPT, in a bizarre effort to hide the fact that Subaru does not offer their sportiest car with a fixed gear automatic. In addition to the new motor, the WRX has also got a new chassis. Like the rest of Subaru's lineup except for the BRZ, the WRX now rides on the Subaru Global platform. This platform is stiffer and provides a lower center of gravity than the outgoing model. It also allows for more suspension travel, which Subaru claims improves lateral grip as well as overall ride quality. The increased body roll caused by these changes are negated by mounting the anti-roll bars directly to the chassis instead of the subframe. Summer tires come standard, as well as 17-inch charcoal gray wheels. These wheels have an annoying asymmetrical spoke design, so they face different directions on either side of the car, which is a personal pet peeve of mine. 18-inch wheels are an option, and those wheels will also get wider tires. Inside, Subaru appears to have made some effort to modernize with the use of a giant 11-inch touchscreen display in the center of the dash. But all this screen accomplishes is to make it glaringly apparent that the WRX, for some reason, did not receive the same digital gauge display as the BRZ. As a matter of fact, the analog gauges stick out so obviously, it's as if it's a detail that Subaru missed. The shifter appears to be a complete carryover from the previous model, so if you liked that one, you'll like this one. The steering wheel is new, and it has a flat bottom this time. Not sure what advantage that gives, but it's there. Recaro seats are available, but only on the GT trim, which can only be had with the CVT transmission. I assume that the Recaros will be available on the upcoming STI, but we don't know much about that model as of this moment. Overall, I have to say I'm disappointed with the new WRX as a whole. Subaru appears to be reaching for a share in a market which doesn't really exist, and in doing so, it's alienating the loyal customer base it has spent decades establishing, while also not attracting any new customers in the process. I suspect this will be a situation largely similar to the 2008 WRX, which debuted as a Corolla with a hood scoop. Subaru quickly rolled out an aggressive new wide body and remedied their error. And honestly, I feel like it's likely they will make another quick change to appeal to their fan base. WRX buyers don't want a plastic-covered all-wheel drive sedan. They want an aggressive-looking four-door sports car that can tackle a rally stage and still look good on the street. And unfortunately, the 2022 WRX is not that.